I'm Gus, I'm from the band altj, I play keyboards therein. We're a band from Leeds in England, we all formed at university there. We've been doing the band for about 4 years, and this is our first sort of major North American tour, so it's really exciting. I grew up listening to mostly, I suppose what my parents were playing at home originally, which was mostly classical music and also folk music. I've got on my mum's side, a really folky family who like to sing folk songs and that sort of thing. And then when I kind of came into my own when I was in my teens, I listened to a lot of indie bands like, the Strokes and the Libertines and things like that, and I pretty much subsisted solely on a diet of guitar music from Britain and America. And I suppose that's how I formed my musical taste. Home is a place called Cambridge in England. The scene of music there is, as far as I know, fairly non-existent. It's a big university town. Obviously it's got a very famous university there, and most of the colleges keep themselves to themselves, so there's not a great scene for live music or anything like that. But the reason we moved there after Leeds was to be a bit closer to London, and also to sort of get our heads down, work hard on writing songs and finishing the album. So it was a good place to do that, definitely, and it's very pretty. The North American music scene is so diverse. I think that's what we're learning on this tour, and so many cities have a really healthy appetite for live music, which is amazing for us. We had no idea we'd be sort of selling out shows in Canada, which is kind of crazy because we've never even played here before. Whereas there are good towns and cities for music in England, but equally a lot of places you'll struggle to sell out. A band like us will struggle to sell out a venue. So coming to North America has been eye-opening and really exciting. The name altj comes from the Mac keyboard shortcut to make a delta symbol, which Gwil, our guitarist, just found out when he was messing about with his laptop. We needed a new band name at the time for various reasons, and we thought it would be kind of a cool name. It doesn't really have a lot of meaning, it just looks cool and sounds cool, and what more do you need than that? altj formed at Leeds University about 4 to 5 years ago. We all came to university in 2007, all kind of like into music, ourselves. And Joe had written some songs when he was, a teenager and before coming to university. And we all made friends and we just like hung out as friends for like a year, made really good friends with each other. And then Joe was kind of like, I'm thinking of getting a band together. I've got some songs. Do you want to play them with me? And so Gwil, first of all, was doing some guitar demos with Joe, and then I was sort of brought into the mix, and then Tom. And so by sort of autumn of 2008, we were doing the band properly and just pretty much writing songs, not really interested in playing live. It was kind of about crafting tracks just for its own sake, really. Our debut album's called An Awesome Wave. The title comes from the book American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. It's also referenced in one of our songs, Blood Flood, which is kind of where we got the album name from when we were looking for album names. It's an album that's taken a long time to write. It's hard to say exactly when we started it, because Matilda, the first track we recorded like over 3 years ago, when we were just doing demos while we were still at university, and that demo actually is the track that's on the album. Over the course of sort of 2 or 3 years of being at university, any time we could get in London to record, we'd go down, get the coach down. It took like 4 3/4 hours with our instruments, and we had a friend who had a studio who'd record us free. And then when it came to actually putting together the album, that was done in January of this year, and we sort of had about 6 tracks already recorded. We did another 6 or 7, and that's the story of how we made the album. Songwriting process for the band really starts with Joe. He'll kind of like write, songs on his own with his acoustic guitar, write lyrics and sort of put them into a song, and then he brings it to the rest of the band. Then I and the others, we write our own parts, so I write my keyboard parts and my vocal parts as well, and the others will write drum and guitar parts and so on. And then we work collaboratively on the structure of the song, sort of looking it into shape and putting together a proper finished song, which we then take to our producer Charlie, who's done all our recordings, and he'll have his own tweaks and ideas, as a producer does, to kind of create the polished finished product of the song. It's very hard to explain the musical style of altj because I think it really varies from track to track. I think it has its roots in kind of folk music, partly because it kind of starts in this acoustic way, the way we write songs, but also the way that we like to tell stories in our songs and write about things that inspire us, and also people's lives, sort of telling stories, like I said. But there's all kinds of influences in there that come from us personally. So I will put in kind of folky stuff and a lot of piano-y kind of sounds that I really like, Tom, our drummer, kind of comes from a metal background, so his beats are really interesting. And then Gwyl has this, interesting arpeggiated style of playing guitar that's kind of sort of electronic in a way. And I think it creates something that I find very hard to actually describe, but it's quite interesting. The most popular Canadian stereotype I've heard is probably that Canadians are peace-loving and generally very amenable to the views of others, but that could be completely wrong. I don't know. I'd love to do a tour with the band Mountain Man. They're like a three-piece a cappella vocal harmony group from America. They've got an album called Made in the Harbour that we in the band really love. I love the album, it's incredible. And we've actually done we did a track called Buffalo, which is not released yet, but they've done some vocals on that, which is really cool. And we'd love to actually tour with them and do some gigs with them, because I think our two sounds would really complement each other. I think the biggest challenges for the band so far have been early on when we were doing the band, once we finished university, trying to essentially balance wanting to be busy with the band but also trying to live and get by, so we were kind of like, living in England, like signing on to get, housing benefits and like income support, like job seekers allowance, and that was kind of annoying because we were trying to tour, but at the same time we had to every week make sure we were in Cambridge to go and sign for our like benefits. So it's difficult early on when you're a band if you don't have the luxury of like a major label giving you shitloads of cash, which we didn't. You have to try and make it work, and I think as long as you've got enough belief in what you're doing, you'll find a way to do it. Interesting. I think life is a series of events that happen to you and a series of decisions that you can make around those events, which essentially should probably lead to as much happiness as possible. It's quite a utilitarian answer, but there you go.